Before you consider jumping to another market to get higher rental returns, you need to try this. What I'm going to cover in this video is the opportunity that you can 3x the rental revenue you're making today by implementing this strategy, because this is what we did when we thought and we were considering and this close to about to say we need to go to another market. The question you should really be asking yourself is, what can we do with what we already have to extract the most amount of rental revenue, which I will disclose in this video. My name is Ruben Kanya. I'm a temporary housing specialist where I've helped hundreds of investors across the nation add the midterm rental insurance niche to their Rolodex in order to maximize, again, the rental profits, but at the same time increase their return on energy by doing less to get more. Now, this isn't something that you do overnight, and there is a process behind it. So I want to actually share that with you here in this video. Now, it is very typical for us investors to think, well, you know what? This market is getting higher returns. Let's jump ship and go to this other market. Now, that's if you're in a position where you don't have to overcome what most people struggle to overcome, is investing outside of their own backyard. If you have the chops for that, then you'll certainly have the chops for this, because it's not about necessarily an other market. It's about knowing that there are other strategies that exist in your own backyard that you're not utilizing. This strategy is what I call a midterm rental insurance niche, but let's just throw away the word midterm rental, because I'm an expert in temporary housing, and that's truly what it is. Midterm rental is a word that we use in-house. So for your knowledge, the temporary housing umbrella has been around for decades. And this, now that what we're calling midterm rental niche, is used to differentiate yourself from the short-term rentals, which is typically anywhere from one night stands to, why I call them one night stands, but really anywhere from 1 to 5 nights. Really, the definition with midterm rentals or temporary housing is 30 days plus, right? And that's exactly what we specialize in. And the reason that I want to highlight that is because it goes back to the math, right? I think we all understand, if you've been in the Airbnb space and the short-term rental space, that once you do the math and realize that a 40% occupancy can very well make you way more than you would make in long-term rentals, it's a math game. Well, the math game with 30 plus stays is the fact that you're 100% occupied for those 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, but you're still charging a premium. And sometimes that premium can very well be the same or even more than what you would traditionally charge on Airbnb. So imagine changing that again, that rate that you're charging on Airbnb or the short-term rentals, aka short-term rentals, and you're getting that for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, which is not unforeseen in our niche, where we specialize in working with relocation agencies who are working directly with the insurance companies who bring us their clients who are in need, not looking for leisure, but who are actually in need of temporary housing for these families. If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it, and continue on with the gems in this video. Because, again, an unforeseen event has occurred in their home, like a fire or water damage or construction, whatever the case might be, and they range from all of the above. And these things take time to fix, and the insurance company is willing to pay the relocation specialty agencies to then find people like us to then pay us what we would call in the marketplace a premium, all relative, of course, to again solve a problem where the hotel couldn't solve that problem. The Airbnb guest hosts can't solve that problem because they're just not available. They have scattered bookings all over, and the quality of our properties are up to par, where you're not necessarily dealing with some of the things you might find on a platform like a Furnish Finder. And again, it usually gets a bad rep, and it's not to get on the platform of or get on the backs of Furnish Finder and say they have bad hosts because they don't. We're even on Furnish Finder, right? But it tracks typically a certain avatar, which is the smaller properties, which is still the business to consumer and not business to business, which is what we're doing. Now, whether you have one property, you can be in that business because power to you, as long as a family lays a head on your pillow and is paying you for that, you're now welcome to the hospitality business. So whether you own one property or a dozen or 100, you're in a hospitality business, and it is in your best interest to work with other relocation agencies who are us also businesses. So now you're a business to business that again is now catering to a larger problem that is more prevalent than you think and becomes very prevalent when you become privy to it and join that world. That is what happened to us. My wife and I were doing Airbnbs, and we weren't getting the top dollar that we saw some of our peers were getting in different states, and we were ready to say, let's go to Florida, let's go to, whatever, insert your state where you've seen the greatest returns. But what we hadn't done is actually taken the time to educate ourselves or think that there was an alternative until we did. And when we did that, in that same market, we got ridiculous returns on our investment and on our time, where it was not as tedious and not as highly turnovers and all these Airbnb guests leaving, reviews and subjectively on what they thought the place was. None of those headaches, but instead we were working with other corporations who were in the same, or at least had the same goals as us, is to relocate these families and being able to, again, we get compensated by solving a problem by making our properties in good condition, in good standing, and available and flexible with extensions and terms to allow those families to continue to extend as they should. There's a cost, there's a premium for that, and we're able to charge that because we're able to give an option that's just not out there in the marketplace. There's a certain type of home that it takes to do that. We typically like to work with homes that are larger homes, because then that means we're also not competing with hotels. But it just means that we're aware that these companies are looking for us, and they're looking for us in multiple different places, including the databases, aka their websites, where you can actually find and just take the time to block out an afternoon and find the databases where you can insert your property. There are tons of them. I even like now to start thinking about tier one versus tier two. Tier ones are the big companies that are nationwide, like the CRS Temporary Housing, Alacrity Solutions, Sedgwick. You got a lot of these companies that are tier one. They got relocation specialists all over the nation. The relocation specialists are not just married to one area, they can cover multiple locations. So getting in touch with just one of them can add tremendous value in being able to, again, create a one-to-many relationship, because I believe if you have one contact at one of these companies and you do a good job, it can spread across. And that's why I love B2B. My effort is multiplied, my effort is leverage. Just like you leverage that down payment for the 20% and the bank give you another 80, or if you put down 5 and they give you 95, or if you put down 10 and they give you 90, this is another lever when you put down 10, or in this case, where you make one relationship can turn into 2, can turn into 3, can turn into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and next thing you know, you have an entire company that knows you as a, again, preferred vendor, not to be mistaken with the terms that they use and they market to say become one of preferred vendor. Whether you're part of their corporate partnership program, which is a whole another topic. Preferred vendor means that you become a go-to vendor for them. And again, do not be overwhelmed by the terminology of vendor, because like I said, all it takes is one home, one address to be in the hospitality business, because when you have a family that stays there and you're getting compensated for it, you are in the business of hospitality. And in this case, you are specifically in the business of temporary housing. And so that is how you need to present yourself. That is what you should consider being in before you jump ship and say, this isn't working for me. It's so important for you to understand that there's so many niches in temporary housing. The one that we love the most is the insurance one, because again, they're paying a premium for it. You can get into construction, you can get into tech. Those all work the same. We understand that dominating one sector is important before we can broaden that umbrella, and you should do the same with respect to, again, your property where you are. Maybe Again, there's nothing wrong with working with healthcare professional companies. I like companies because it's not a one-to-one, it's a one-to-many. So there are companies who specialize in just relocating healthcare professionals or locum tenens, which are physicians who are traveling on the fly because they're being called for an assignment and they're paying again to relocate that family. Maybe they have a department that does it, or maybe there's a special company that does it. Maybe it's tech professionals, maybe it's construction. Get in bed with those companies, no pun intended, so that they can get in your bed. Okay, that's crazy. That one was a wild one. But you get my point. My point is that you need to foster relationship with these companies, and the easiest, lowest hanging fruit is start with their website. And then of course you can then start marketing yourself on multiple. You need to have a landing page as well. You should probably be creating websites so that they can have a go-to place you can send them. They don't like receiving links necessarily from like Airbnb, but you can start with the lowest hanging fruit like a Zillow rental manager, where you can at least have pictures of your property and then send them those links on a third-party website such as that works. I try to stay away from Furnished Finder and Airbnb. Have a landing page, and or a Zillow rental manager is good. Maybe Howfee, some of those websites work as well, where you can kind of like host your own properties. But again, if you have a property management software, which we don't talk about enough, you already have a website. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get a website up. But this is how you start the conversation, so that when someone reaches out, you send them an option, you send them a proposal, you send them your price, you send them your cleaning fee, you send them your admin fee, you send them whatever it is that is going to need to fulfill them. You always provide flexibility. You always understand on the other side what their needs are, what their budget is, if possible, if they do disclose that, so that you can actually meet the needs, and again provide flexible extensions, right? Whether it's a 30-day or 15-day notice to vacate or a 5-day notice to vacate, like whatever it is you need to do to make it fit, make it so that it's easy for them to do business with you, is always the primary goal for this initiative. So now, before you invest in another market, understand that there's a temporary housing insurance niche that exists. There's temporary housing umbrella that exists, and it's in your best interest to add that to your existing strategy. Especially if you're in a short-term rental, you are very well equipped to run a mid-term rental operation, because you already have the bones and chops and the foundation and the actual skill set to turn your furnished accommodation into a hybrid. There is a caveat on running a hybrid, because you might be off of Airbnb for some time. But my question is, do you want to be an Airbnb super host, or do you want to be a super host at the bank, right? Hosting the good funds and receiving those directly to then house families. That is a question you got to ask. And before you jump a market and say, I got to go, it's not, it's saturated, this and that and the third, understand what options exist in your backyard and strategies. And we did add this to our Rolodex, to our tool belt, and we made it our main thing. We kept the main thing. The main thing kept on going and blessing. And now I empower you to do the same. If you're in a position where you're thinking like us of jumping markets, add this strategy to your Rolodex. Use it as a test. It's not in lieu of, it's and then you can transition the way we did, right? By again adding this as a strategy without shutting off your Airbnb account and seeing which one gains the most traction. Best tip I can give you. Come back, drop your comments, come back with your receipts, and let's serve some families, shall we? If you got value from this video, make sure you check out my what is the ideal market for mid-term rentals video.